All right, welcome back, everyone, and hopefully you enjoyed those random recommendations from Shudder. I know I personally enjoyed both.
I did too, actually. Quite honestly, I really enjoyed that one.
And again, as both of us are watching these for the first time, so these are very fresh for the most part.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and kick things off by the fact that neither of us lost our head, or at least, funny once, funny twice. Third time is a charm. But obviously, 2018's The Headhunter. Like I said before, I was familiar with this one only because of the Shockwaves podcast.
See, I haven't heard nothing about this movie. Like, until you said, hey, watch this, I heard not a thing.
Okay, good, because one thing that we talk about all the time is kind of the hindrance of hype, ultimately.
Oh, yeah.
Hyperbole has come back, especially for you, Genius, many a times with some of the newer horror.
If this would have had a lot of hype, I probably would have hated this movie.
It's good then, because from the podcasts I listen to the people I follow on Twitter, a lot of good word of mouth with this one. So I was anticipating it ultimately.
Deservingly so, I should say. But, like, we'll see.
Well, like I said, I initially called it a minimalist, meditative, metal as fuck, medieval monster movie.
Right. But it's not the kind of metal like Deathgasm or like Sammy Kerr, It's more like Viking and sword and sorcery and like that kind of like Gilgamesh shit.
Tales of high adventure.
Correct.
Yes.
Before the oceans drank Atlantis.
The Sons of Erebus all probably had dealings with our fighter here.
Right.
So ultimately, this film is all set around, and it's a very personal film.
It is.
Because
it's like a character. It's a horror character study or a drama horror.
It is, because he's fighting. He's facing his own personal demons
and
but also literal demons.
Yeah.
So I like that. We have two characters basically, and all built around. You almost could call this a revenge film as well.
Absolutely, it's a revenge film. It's a revenge and redemption film.
Yes.
Even though there's, I
R&R,
wouldn't say spoilers, but,
yeah.
but you've already seen it. There's no redemption. There's like, it doesn't go quite his way.
But not at all.
I really, really thoroughly enjoyed this movie. The visuals.
Okay, the visuals themselves.
Yeah.
That was the one thing. $30,000 that this movie cost.
That's incredible.
It's
That's
all
incredible.
on screen.
Because it looks enormous.
Yeah.
The drone shots, some of the establishing shots, the nature shots are beautiful and haunting.
Yes.
And like, for being as minimalistic, and I'm sure a lot of you out there like boring, but for being as minimalistic as it was, this is a big, a vibrant movie.
There are a lot of ideas happening in it. I think, and because it's only 70 minutes,
it's quick.
It's very quick because it's only 30,000. They could not film fight scenes.
No.
They could not give you more excess gore. Everything that is you see on there looks as good as it does because they couldn't do those extra things.
The limitations. And I think that's what we should be praising it.
Yes.
But also that's like a little bit of where the hindrance comes into.
Well, this was shot by Kevin Stewart and is kind of, for the most part, I think there were like three main people involved that pretty much did almost everything.
Like a total cast of 5 people. Like 5 people. That's
unreal.
insane.
It was shot in Portugal. And just very minimalist.
All that shit was in Portugal?
Yes.
I thought it was in like Tiraslee or like fucking Mordor or something, because like it looked otherworldly.
It really
looked
does.
like just so alien and so like back in time that I was like, this, wow. When I found out that they spent $30,000 only, I thought that must be on like just the scenes alone.
Right? No,
just
total.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Well, it looks like they really establish a world that's lived in. And the world that you live in is a scary world because there are monsters.
There's monsters. Like the first thing we do, he's eating like a monster squirrel, and then he's going fishing for monster fish. So there's monsters fucking everywhere in this movie. And like, I think that's what hooked me, but I also think that's where one of my beefs came in.
Well, you know what? We're talking about eating. Let's talk a little bit about the beef then, ultimately,
Yeah.
that you had with this film.
I thought it was really cool. I thought that for being as minimalistic, it was paced rather well. I mean, like, I think there was only an utter of 12 words the entire movie, the
Yes.
entire fucking movie.
Yes.
But my beef is like, okay, So when it first comes on, you see the monsters that he's fishing, and he's making all that goop and shit. Right?
Yes.
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later. Like, okay, so he's making all that stuff, and then there's a monster, so he goes and fights it. Okay, so when we first see he's going to go fight the monster, and it all happens off screen. At first, I was like, man, okay, I can understand. Let's wait for it. Let's wait for a bigger punch. Then he goes and fights another monster on screen, and another monster on screen, and another monster on screen. I'm like, okay, so this last monster battle that he has better be fucking epic, right? And then sure enough, he gets that monster, like, hey, it's the monster that killed my
his
girl,
daughter,
right?
yes.
And so, like, I'm gonna go fuck him up. And so we watch him go through this entire countryside. And like right when he gets to the cave, and it was a really good establishing shot of the cave, because it like just went, it like faded out to this big monstrositous cave. And they're like, we gonna see some badass battles, and we didn't see it. And then nothing. And I'm like, this is his big redemption moment, and we didn't see it. And I'm like, okay, there's still 20 minutes of the movie left. Let's see where this goes. Maybe there's going to be another bigger battle. And then sure enough, when all the shenanigans happen with the head and then things coming back to life, I was engrossed the entire time. I was engaged with this story. But in the back of my mind, I was like, there better be a big fucking ass monster battle, because all these monsters that they're showing are cool as shit looking. The world that he has is cool as shit looking. Yep. And now that this monster is going around doing terrible things, there better be this epic ass, because I want to see badassery, because he's a badass looking dude from the word get. His helmet is slick. He is one of the most coolest looking motherfucker medievals that I have seen in all movies.
He looks like he came straight off of like a Molly Hatchet album cover.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Like he looks like if Fabio Frizzi, if Fabio Frizzi decided to draw Nick Offerman as a warrior. Then, because I got this weird like Nick Offerman, David Harbour, but a badass. I mean, not like it took me out of it, but I'm like, this badass better do some badass shit.
Give me all the eggs and monster bacon you have.
Exactly. And so then when the monster actually happens, and all this shit happens off screen, I was like,
but ultimately, I think had they had a bigger budget, they could have made that. Then they could have made it into a full feature-length film.
True,
ultimately,
I would have been okay with just like the final monster battle, even if when he like fought that monster in the cave, if that was a little bit more like.
I actually, from what I read, ultimately they had some issues filming that scene because it is so narrow.
It was claustrophobic as shit.
It felt a little Neil Marshall Descent-esque ultimately, but I liked the intimacy of it and the fact that he had to take literally his armor off to advance.
Fight it.
And the monster itself, I actually really... Do you remember watching... So there's a movie out there called The Seventh Curse. Do you remember watching that one?
Yes. Holy shit, I remember now. But
so this is a crazy Hong Kong monster adventure. It's a crazy movie. It's the guy that did Riccio, The Story of Ricky.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
But there's a little mini monster in there that one wizard keeps showing, and he shoots it out. That's what that little thing reminded me of. But the fact that it's got this like
weird tendril thing.
Yes,
it reminded me of one of Lydia Dietz's mom's sculptures.
Very true.
You know what I'm saying? The one that like makes it crawl himself after the thing.
The fact that he was actually trying to attach himself and attack and put up a good fight.
Bro, really good fight. It was a really cool monster movie. I mean, for what little special effects we saw and little gore and little minimalistic gore, minimalistic violence, minimalistic everything.
They had you on everything.
But it was such an engaging, gripping story. Like, even though I was like, man, I want to see some monsters, right? I was still engaged with his adventure, even when you thought like that he got his comeuppance and then the jar fell down. When the jar fell down and thing, I was like, oh shit, here we go. Right.
The first time I watched it, because I've watched this twice now because I wanted to kind of soak it in, so to speak. I really like the fact that he's prepping. He's basically a monster bounty hunter.
Dude, he's a witcher.
Oh, okay.
He's a low budget Witcher, dude. This was awesome. This was like super low budget Witcher because like there's not enough stories about monster hunting. And you know that I've wanted the Creighton Duke adventure since day one, right? So like so to see a story about a monster hunter, I was like, fuck yeah. But then there was no monster hunting. But normally I would be extremely pissed. But I'm okay with this.
Let me ask you, because you played The Witcher.
Uh-huh.
I assume you watched The Witcher.
Oh, yeah.
Would you put this not on par with the series, but maybe something that you could watch as in between one of the Witcher episodes or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
This felt like an alternate universe Witcher tale.
That's fair.
This felt like an alternate universe Game of Thrones tale. It looked like a Game of Thrones episode,
Yeah.
but like if it was focused on a small, minor monster hunter that had no monsters. And so like I thoroughly enjoyed this story, dude. I mean, and I'm saying like, man, there was no monsters, and I wanted to see people get beheaded and shit like that.
Right.
And you do. I mean, as a horror fan, you want to see some guts and gore.
Of course.
But when the story is so minimalistic, quick, and engaging like this, and there's no words, you have to watch this movie. This is one that almost not commands your attention because it's not like, hey, you watch me, but it's like,
You kind of
where
wanna
is
watch
this? What's going on? Wow.
Well, we've hosted multiple screenings at this point through multiple theaters of Conan the Barbarian. And we usually always say it's basically an art house fantasy sword and sandal kind of film. This kind of falls in that camp ultimately.
It's a horror drama sword and sandals.
Yeah.
It's really a unique movie.
It is, and that's why I like it ultimately. The fact that Shudder isn't exclusively horror. They're all genre. And this you could call horror adjacent.
I call it square in horror. It's a monster hunter.
Yes, and there are moments in the movie where ultimately the sound design in this.
And the killer head digs up the body of a dead girl to possess the body. That's horror. That's horror. If you know this movie's not horror, fuck you. There's monsters going around taking off people's heads. What's not horror about that?
And the fact that you see that entire wall of heads.
That trophy thing was rad. Like
that is.
As soon as I finished watching this, I went back to play a couple of rounds of Witcher because I was like, I need to kill me some monsters. Shit, you know. Because it was really, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
I was impressed with the world they built. I would love for them to be able to maybe get some excess funding and make a full feature out of this. And I'd love for them to keep the original actor, to keep the original designers.
The original actor was great.
For his first role, actually.
My God, he was just...
He looks like he came from the medieval ages.
Right. And like everything he does, you're just engaged. And when he comes back from a battle with all those wounds... That looked amazing.
That's what I liked. It was kind of a cause and effect thing. The bell rings, he leaves.
He leaves to go hunt a monster. He comes back and he's fucked up.
With a head, and he's fucked up, exactly. Yeah. And then you realize all that care he went into putting together this elixir of some sort that this magical healing, but also takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, every time he uses it, he passes out.
And he shits. Like, he shits goo. It's weird.
I don't know if it's cleaning the wounds or whatever.
I don't know, like internally, but it reminded me of me when I go to the all-you-can-eat cheese buffet. Dude, that is not cool. Like, although I would rather shit ink than like have like this massive head wound that's about to kill me.
Yes, that's true.
But I love the reveal when the spider comes alive and then he kills it. And then he goes, And he goes, I know what I got to do. But then the spider comes back alive again. And that's when I was like, oh, shit. Here comes the horror. Here comes the monsters. And I was disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I was disappointed that there wasn't any monsters. But I wasn't disappointed in the fact where I was like, man, fuck this movie, you know?
You didn't have an It Follows, a Hereditary.
No.
In fact, It Comes at Night.
Quite the opposite. I will watch this again.
Okay.
But it's going to be a minute.
Now, here's a question for you. Would you recommend this to our friend Dustin, who is one of the be-all, end-all of the Schwarzenegger sword and sands fantasy kind of films? He's kind of our direct line into that genre. So question, would you recommend this to him?
D, I don't know if you're watching. You probably should because you're my best fucking friend. But yes, I think you would like this movie. I don't think you would love this movie. I think you would like this movie. I think you would find this movie just enough entertainment to keep you interested and thoroughly enjoy it. But be like, oh yeah, let me watch this after Predator. It ain't gonna happen. No, it's not gonna be in his rotation.
Do you need a caveat with this film potentially?
I would definitely say, okay, like we said earlier, this is a minimalist, slow movie. Don't expect bombasticness.
No, you're not going to get a lot of chaos in this film. It's very meditative.
This isn't even like necessarily one you would see with a whole bunch of people.
While
I'm sure in the theater was fucking dope, but like I wouldn't go to like let's say 10 years down the road. And let's say hopefully in 10 years we're still hosting movies.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't say, oh, ladies and gentlemen, The Headhunter, you know, and like, you know, I mean, now I would because this is a movie that I am thoroughly glad that I saw.
I am too, and seeing it in a smaller, more intimate setting.
I think that's what made it. I think some movies are better with a big drunken rowdy crowd, but I think some movies are better in a quiet, solo, just you got an hour and a half to kill, and you need to laser focus on a movie. And I think this would be a great one for that.
I agree. And there's actually there's a scene in here even that really stuck the second time, but it's the scene when he finds the arrowhead that he initially made for her, fashions the arrow, pulls the arrow back and lets it go. And for me, that was like letting his trauma go.
Exactly. Like my vengeance is done. I have no need to hold on to the sadness, and I can let you go off in the spirit. I thoroughly got that, and I was like, yes, I that made me happy.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie, it did what it's supposed to do. There was parts where I was like genuinely like, oh shit, this guy's gonna get fucked up. Or like, uh-oh. I thought also the monster, the head, was gonna get all that goo and put it on all the other heads and have like this weird Evil Dead.
Had they had the budget, I guarantee they would have.
Yeah, I thought it would have been dope. I would love to see them remake this movie with like $1 million.
Yeah, absolutely. And the writer director, Jordan Downey, excuse me. You talk about the Evil Dead. Do you know what his previous film was? Thanksgiving. So when
get the fuck out of town, dude, from a trauma to this?
Yes.
Dude, that's backwards.
Right?
That's backwards.
I had to double check that because if any of you have seen Thanksgiving, it
is not meditative.
No,
it is not. It is not quiet. It is not think a piece. It is not like very emotional. It's gross out humor.
Yeah.
It's a killer turkey.
It is the opposite end of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
From what that's what
dude, it's apples and orange Julius, man. It's two totally different things.
Well, that's why I had to double check my work there because I was like, man, but it just shows you though that's
range right there,
exactly. Man. You should never, ever kind of put a director or a creative in a certain corner based on their previous work. Because they can always expand.
Because, I mean, okay, let's take some of other Trauma's success stories. Let's look at James Gunn.
Sure.
Now, even though James Gunn does his stuff on the MCU and big budget, there's still that little inklings of Trauma in there.
Oh yeah. Well, the fact that Lloyd himself is in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. But there's no Trauma in Headhunter.
No.
I can't.
No.
Not an ounce of Trauma. Not even that goo. It's not even any of that, you know?
Normally, goo and gooey is kind of like one of your pre-indicators of a trauma.
Especially from a Trauma alum, you know?
Yes.
So, like...
Well, that makes me now want to go back and maybe see if he did sprinkle something Trauma in there potentially that maybe even on the head. Maybe Toxie is on there.
Maybe.
Sergeant Kabuki.
Sergeant Kabuki man's one of the heads? Fucking like one of the class of Nukem High,
or maybe the turkey from Thanksgiving potentially. True. Right?
But in fairness, he looks like he could. The headhunter looks like he totally could have been a class of Nukem High.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
the guy that held back a few years.
He was rad as fuck, dude. I mean, he was cool as shit looking.
He goes along with the Khal Drago, the Conan the Barbarian. He has the look.
Just his armor, like the mask that he wore. Was fucking next level.
Molly Hatchet, man.
I know. It was grand.
This film could be projected on the side of a van. That's how you watch it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you can watch it with a crowd with a van because it'll be a smaller crowd. But that's the essence of this film.
Yeah.
And that's why I think ultimately why I'm glad, even though you had your beef with it, it's still beef that's palatable.
Yeah.
It's beef that's not soured. You can digest this beef.
Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm kind of in agreement with Dustin. I'm not going to put it in my regular rotation.
Right.
But I'm glad I saw this movie.
It's one of those little nuggets that you can throw out every now and again, and it's not but it's one that you can definitely, if you want to see something different and a different take on sword and sorcery, sword and sandals.
Oh yeah, different thing than most of the things we do on Junkhead.
Very much so. This is right up your alley.
Yeah.
Now, if you want something that is very familiar to Nightmare Junkhead, something that fits in true with the podcast, with everything we do, the second film of the random recommendations. Wow.
Again, total opposite because this is now in my regular rotation.
This is
my rotation. This movie is gold.
Now, here's the great thing though, is there's a nice way to segue from The Headhunter into Bloody Birthday. And
so weird.
It's even better is the fact that multiple times throughout the podcast, we've talked about our love of Don Coscarelli and all of his films, but especially a TBS and HBO classic, The Beastmaster, which is a sword and sandals film.
As Dar.
As the character of Dar, the Beastmaster, is shown 3 times in the film. Once as a baby, once as an adolescent Dar, and once as Mark Senior Dar.
As Dar.
The adolescent Dar is played by one Billy Jacoby. Billy Jacoby.
You might remember from Billy Jacoby from such educational films as
Just One of the Guys, Dr. Alien. He plays adolescent Dar, and young Billy Jacoby also plays in
Bloody Birthday.
Oh Lord, does he? As
Being a mad
Curtis.
thug. A mad thug. Curtis is all about that thug life because he's got that gun. You talk shit, I'm going to shoot you.
So Bloody Birthday came out in 1981. It is a killer kid film.
I'm kicking myself in the ass for missing this.
I can't even say with Bloody Birthday, I've seen that because I wasn't even aware of its existence before. And what about you?
See, I was, but I always got Bloody Birthday and My Happy Birthday to Me mixed up because I thought maybe it was an alternate title.
Different region potentially?
Correct. And so I've heard about Bloody Birthday and I always thought it was Happy Birthday to Me. So like if you would like, oh yeah, have you seen Bloody Birthday? Oh yeah, you know that part? But I love it on the VHS when he's got that skewer in his mouth. And I'm like, no, that's not it. I'm like, okay. And I watched this, I'm like, holy fucking shit. I had the biggest cheesy grin the entire time. I almost texted you and had been like, dude, it's an after school special. Like gone horribly, horribly wrong.
Helen Hunt diving out of a window would have been probably, may have not even saved the film. I mean, it is just total sleaze. It is gratuitous. It is mean. It is funny.
It's extremely mean and it's hilarious.
And it recently came up on my radar due to, there's a YouTube channel called Dead Meat with James A. Janice. It's a kill count thing, but it's phenomenal. It's on my regular Friday rotation. His last one that he did was Bloody Birthday. And so I'm like, wow, this looks great. So it was so good, in fact, that I went and I ordered the Arrow Blu-ray because I didn't realize that this was streaming on Shudder. And I think and that's when you're like, oh, I'm watching Bloody Birthday. I'm like, how are you watching Bloody Birthday? It's on Shudder. Holy shit, it's on Shudder. So thankfully, I was also able to get it. Now I'm still waiting for the Blu-ray, obviously.
When you get it, I will watch it because I want to see
all
the bells and whistles. I wonder maybe they'll have like a commentary with Julie Brown.
I hope. Let's start there. Not downtown Julie Brown, wubba wubba wubba,
No.
nothing like that.
Just say Julie Brown.
This is the Julie Brown from Earth Girls Are Easy. Yes.
Yeah.
The All About Being Blonde. And this is early. This is
'Cause I'm a
1981.
blonde. Yeah.
Doesn't have to be smart. She just needs to wiggle.
Yep.
It's so goddamn funny. She's wonderful. Here, you see a lot of Julie Brown.
A lot of Julie Brown.
To the point where I was uncomfortable at one point watching so much of Julie Brown.
Creepy Peep Show, Julie Brown. This movie was fucking hilarious.
The movie has a literal peep show.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Dude, this movie is 42nd Sesame Street because like there's a peep show in the kids' room. Like it totally is 42nd Sesame Street. This movie is amazing.
I'm very glad I came across this film. Some of my standouts here. So first and foremost, Billy Jacoby, who I've always appreciated. Curtis,
just the shittiest little kid.
he's equal parts scary in this movie because there are points at the film where I'm like, he's a sociopathic psychopath. This kid is just out there.
It's the Curtis system. Cut, undermined, retaliate, terrorize, institutionalize when he tried to gaslight her, and like stalk. No, shoot.
That's impressive, my friend. There are no implications.
That's not on my notes either. That just all came right now. Because like
that shows you truly how much you enjoy a film like this when you can throw things out like that. Amongst the other things in this film, I don't know. And again, depending on your age, I grew up in the time when there was a national terror campaign about the dangers of refrigerators.
It's an epidemic, man. There was like PSAs, like if you throw away your refrigerator, please take the door off. It seemed like every day in the 80s, either a kid fell down a well or got locked in a fridge. Did you ever notice that? Like every fucking day.
You know it's bad if you show up as a very special episode of Punky Brewster.
Or Silver Spoons. Or any of those.
Or Different Strokes.
Different Strokes except
Bicycle shops.
Watch out for bicycle shops and fucking junkyards. Either way, you're going to get fucked. So like.
Well, between all again, we've talked about constantly how movies lied to us. I was convinced I would get caught in a refrigerator.
By happenstance, like they would just come out of nowhere.
Or sink in quicksand.
Yeah.
Possibly stuck in a fridge in quicksand. That's like the level.
Quicksand was the only thing that this movie didn't have because it had everything else we were told to watch out for. Strangers.
Stranger danger.
Peep shows.
Yes.
Cars and no, and it's also worried about two kids on top of each other trying to do things, like driving the car.
Yes, which I was like, holy shit, that was like the Thing disguise, that was a TMNT disguise, but they were in a
It was
ghost.
Michael Myers. It was the Dark Knight of the Children's Scarecrow.
There were multiple times throughout the film that I got a Halloween vibe, to the point when the two girls are walking down the sidewalk, very much a tracking shot a la Halloween.
Right.
And one of...
Sheriff Brody out of nowhere. Like, it's like, come on now, man. Like, if you're gonna, okay, I understand. It kind of took, like, if Michael Myers wasn't institutionalized, if they were just like, oh, that's just kids shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then just like, then
him
what
go.
happens?
Well, this might pair nicely with like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in the fact if you wanted to make like an astrology double feature.
Yeah, there we go.
Because astrology ties deeply into this film.
Heavily so. It like explains why the kids are evil, because
They were born on an eclipse.
and the eclipse blocks Saturn, and that's where you get your empathy from. So these kids are like without empathy.
What happens if you block Uranus?
You're good.
Okay,
Then you don't
thank
have
you.
to go to the bicycle shop. No.
Jesus.
You opened the door on that
I
one?
did, sadly.
Okay, so no, this movie, I mean, it starts off like out the gate nutty. I mean, it has that weird thing. The first kill we see are two horny teens, and they want to have like cemetery shenanigans.
Yes.
So what's hotter than like humping on gravestones, but humping in an open grave?
Well, you know what? It turns out, though, the sheriff himself went to a group of elementary school kids. It was like, was anyone at the graveyard last
Yeah.
night?
Does anybody know who belongs to this thing? But I love
That's the place to go in this town, is the graveyard.
right. Apparently so, because that's like make out point, I guess. It's like the circle of life. People are conceived there and then they die there. So like, so when buddy birthday nah. But like so.
But you mentioned a jump rope is a weapon of choice in this film.
And they killed him with okay. So a jump rope is a weapon of choice. Curtis and his gun is definitely a weapon
Yep.
of choice.
about.
Billy, who's the muscle of the group. So Curtis is the brains.
He's the brains.
The little girl's the face.
Yep.
And the little boy is the muscle, because he's the one that
So, man, they don't have a wild card.
no. Yeah, they're maybe trying to get the other kid to recruit.
I bet they were, and that's why they
That's
didn't.
why they threw him. That was the initiation. They threw him in the. If you can survive,
You're in the group.
you're in the group. That means you're made out. You've proven your metal. But I love the fact that they're like choking one person. The little girl's choking the naked person out with the thing. Meanwhile, that other little boy's doing Three Stooges, because it was Three Stooges. Bonks. Did you? Bonk, bonk, bonk. I was cracking up the whole time. I had, like I said, the biggest fucking cheese on my face.
And that's just it. We go from a meditative, serious horror film to
Oh, your time's up. This peep show's taking too long. That's another 25 cents. She was
supply
making
and
that
demand.
money. She was making that. She's all about that. She was all about that. And like everything about this movie was ridiculous. I mean, the kills, the children themselves. Oh, and then the ambulance that comes into play. The learning how to play ambulance. Because right off the fucking bat, you want to play ambulance? And he's like, ambulance don't stop at red light. And then it goes on. And then it comes back into play. So later on, they're like, hey, you want to go play ambulance? And even the little girl comes up like, hey, you want to, she goes, you want to play doctor? And then he goes, I don't know how to play doctor. And she goes, neither do I, but I know how to play ambulance. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with these children?
And that shot, actually, when they're up in the treehouse, there are several shots that are well composed and shot. When it's that straight up shot.
Because like they get those like the bungee pits
Yeah.
down right underneath her fucking like
The
treehouse.
fact that they kill off her dad within the first like 15 minutes of the film.
But they were plotting. They're like the only reason why they killed him with the baseball bat is because Plan A didn't
Fell through.
work. They
These-
would make it look like an accident.
They're conniving killer
Yeah,
kids.
they were.
And
then they killed-
contingencies.
And then exactly, that's the mark of a good killer. And then they started killing Academy Award winner Viola Davis. That's actually not her, but that was the name of the
right.
thing. But goddamn, for a school shooting to happen in the middle of a movie and with a silencer.
With the silent. That in and of itself was crazy. The kills in this are they're not super gory, but they're mean.
But they're extremely mean. Like an eyeball through the peep show. Boop. Like, okay, that's a fear now I have of like when I look into things like that, I'm afraid that I'm gonna get shot in the eye with an arrow. Like,
Which film is it where they look through the peephole and there's a gun? Someone has a gun on the other side of it.
There's a lot of movies
Is it like one
that.
of the Saw films, maybe?
Something like that. They did it in The Purge. They did it in Saw. They did it in Scary Movie.
Okay,
Where he looks at the peep window and then he gets a knife in the eye. Actually, it's a dick.
Okay, no.
But still, no. This movie was crazy.
The score, hugely. I heard Psycho in there.
Yeah.
Jaws,
Yeah.
ultimately. And we're not talking homages. We're just talking
Straight up
rips.
rip-offs. But then when it wasn't horror, it was like after school music, like after school
jaunty.
special. It was happy. It was jaunty.
When
and
he
it was all
comes out of
filmed.
the refrigerator, it has this.
Bum, 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 like this victorious music. But in fairness, in the 80s, if you did come out of a refrigerator,
It was a momentous
it was a
occasion.
moment of victory. It was a moment of victory. I am not a statistic, but it was just so madcapery. But the kids were so mean, and I wanted to beat the shit out of Curtis. Like
Buddy Jane, Betty Jacoby, however he goes by, he's wonderful in this film.
Yeah,
he
he is.
is scary. He's precocious. And he's dressed. He's got like the members only jacket with the glass. He does not look like
he's like a young prick Moranis.
on his way to manage LNAM and the attackers. Potentially,
He gets his shit together and like visits Torchies and just like it's.
That's his next step. A couple of things that I also really enjoyed.
Oh wait, he totally Son of Sammed him too. Curtis.
They're not going to be able to see your arm.
Oh, Curtis totally Son of Sammed him. Remember those two couples that were making love They were making love. In the van, and he comes up and like pop 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 pop. He's a fucking son. He's a little Son of Sam.
Was it a Chevy van?
That's not all right with me.
It is not all right with me. We've talked about my unending love of an 80s flick called Just One of the Guys. And Just One of the Guys, I recently picked it up on Blu-ray. In fact,
It's glorious.
I did a triple feature of Honor and Glory, which is a Cynthia Rothrock film, not a horror film. It's an actioneer built around a journalist and a CIA sisters kicking ass, right?
Nice.
Sounds like journalism. You know what's a journalistic film? Just One of the Guys. So I watched Just One of the Guys with the commentary track. It's fantastic. Everyone praised Buddy's performance like he stole the movie. And I'm like, wait a minute. Bloody birthday, Buddy Jake, perfect. So I transitioned to that. And that scene, the Son of Sand scene, I would almost think that activated his
That's what activated, made him a perv and Just One of the Guys, like that in the Peep Show?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw the birth.
Julie.
I saw the birth of Buddy, the Budmeister, happen there. And if you know Just One of the Guys and you watch that, it gives you an This one would actually play even better afterwards.
Yeah.
Like he finally got out of the institution, was adopted by Terry and the nice family.
And then
there.
it went on, and then all of a sudden the post-apocalyptic happened, and he became young Dar.
There we go. It happens.
There you go.
Again, the circle of life, right?
Buddy and his dog.
It's ridiculous. It is so ridiculous.
No, this movie was great. It's the chase scene was surprisingly tense.
The chase scene in the junkyard is wonderful, and you talked about it before, but there's a whole trope where back in the day, it was, again, the kids standing on each other's shoulders with the overcoat.
Hello,
with
I
the
would like a ticket to this R-rated movie, please.
Which is a great gag. You've seen it in like the Little Rascals, things like that. Here, though, they apply it
to
where
evil.
he's trying to run them down in the car. So you've literally got a kid down at the bottom pushing on the gas and the brake.
While the other one is driving, trying to run over this girl.
Oh my God. But like he said, the Michael Myers, Bob got his ghost kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
It is but it is very intense, good practical effects again. And I believe also the fact that they didn't have stunt people. So I think everyone was pretty much doing their own thing.
Even the kids. I remember when I read the kids were doing their own stunts. And this is not a gory movie. None of these movies, both of these movies, minimal gore. But the kills themselves are fun. And the fact that they just pull the girl, just say Julie, and throw her right next to the trash. Just throw me in the trash when I'm dead. Like everything about this movie is so wrong and so hardcore. Like the actual birthday scene when he's gaslighting that the babysitter to make think that he poisoned the thing. And he's like,
Was that the point? Was that the point that you were wanting to smack him?
Yes, the whole time I was like, "You little fucker!" Like, I don't know. I love kids, but I hate me some smart ass kids, and I really hate me some killer kids. So, like,
Oh man, check.
Because when they're like, because I do like kids, but not when they're trying to kill me. Oh, and he had that just smug look on his face the whole entire time. I was like, buddy, you asshole. You asshole.
Well, what kills me is the fact that they set everything up for a potential sequel at the very end.
Yes.
Where you've got Buddy himself, Curtis, in the institution, the little girl and her mom, who is complicit in everything at this point.
Obliviously complicit.
On the run. And the fact that she pulls a Michael Myers and kills
she pulls a Halloween 4. She totally pulls a Halloween 4 on it because like just the shop is just decimated. And
it's unreal. It is unreal.
I promise, Mommy, I'll be good. And then she walks to me. Meanwhile, there's some poor schmuck whose head is underneath the axles as she's playing with with the hydraulic jack. It's fucked up. I love it so much.
I would have loved for a sequel within the last few years, but let's face it, we're almost 40 years removed now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the people are still around. I could see, another Bloody Birthday ideally. Again, maybe they're in their 40s now.
I would love to see what happens because the kids really don't die.
No.
I mean, they'll live to see again because Buddy and his friend Tommy,
they're just in trouble.
They're in juvie.
Juvie.
And then meanwhile the girl is off to play ambulance. It'd be funny if she grows up and has a kid and the kids they're all fucked up too, or they come back and they remake and she's playing the mom, the complacent mom.
Maybe breaking them out of their institution, what have you. I would like
hop in this ambulance.
I hate to say it, but I want to go back to that world. I want to revisit it because I also had so much fun with this movie. Now, last year at Nerdoween, we did Killer Nouns, and one of our films was a Killer Kid movie.
If I would have seen this, I would have chose. I'm glad we chose Cooties.
Cooties was great. That was the first time watch.
But I think this one was more of a killer. This is more of a indicative to Nightmare Junkhead sensibility.
Would have definitely been on brand. There is no doubt. But I'm glad ultimately now I can incorporate this within my regular rotation. The fact that I've got the Blu-ray. And that's something that always tells me if it's a movie that really hits something with me where I immediately go and seek out the physical media. Best example of this is our friend Paul and Blood Harvest of all things. Like, for someone to then immediately have a Tiny Tim thing go out and buy it and that's amazing. I love that kind of stuff. And this was one of those movies for me, man. I had so much fun with it.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch Bloody Birthday again. This is going in my rotation. This is like, hey, what's a good movie? Do you recommend a good slasher? I do. You recommend a good Killer Kids movie? I do. Do you recommend a good underseen 80s throwback horror jam? I do. So yeah.
And that's the best part. And you know what? Whether it is on physical media, it is now on Shudder. We have a number of things that we can go. Final thoughts on that one there, Genius? Because I know it's very rare when he brings notes.
I know, right? The clown at the birthday party. Like, I can't say no.
That
I loved it. There was just a brief second I saw that. I'm like, oh! Clown nanigans. I'm all about clown nanigans.
And this is 81, so that's technically right. Is that even before the Just Say No thing? Because that hit around 84 for the most part, didn't it?
I think so.
Man,
So Bloody Birthday's ahead of its time. They're already like the ills of refrigerators and junk guards.
No, we shouldn't laugh about that. But you don't understand. If you were not
in the 80s, you heard it. There was episodes of TV shows, episodes of cartoons, PSAs after school, like little commercials, everything. Like, don't play in refrigerators. It's a goddamn epidemic. It was insane. And so the minute that happened, I wish you would have known if you would have seen it. Like, I was like, dude, it's happening.
It's the alarm bells that go off, and that always is a sign of something special, ultimately. And that's what this film was, very much something
super
special.
Fun.
The ultimate palate cleanser from The Headhunter. This is what you need for something like that.
I think so. The Headhunter is the 8 o'clock movie, the one that you actually need to go see and pay attention to. Bloody Birthday is the midnight movie where everybody's drunk and having a good time and palling around. That's the movie.
That's the one for you. Excellent. Well, The Headhunter, Bloody Birthday, all streaming on Shudder. A number of films out there on Shudder. So what are some of your random recommendations out there? Be it Shudder, be it Amazon, whatever kind of streaming services out there, because the main thing that we want to do is to, again, we love physical media. We prefer physical media. But when we're all down and out like this, streaming is a pretty good thing.
Absolutely.
Because most of us have it.
Because without streaming, I would not have seen Bloody Birthday.
I know, right? Right?
Thank you, Shudder.
Yes. Our overlord and master Shudder, the shut-in code, everything in between. So again, thank you guys for enjoying this with us. Now, you know what we didn't put together beforehand? Something that wasn't funny 20 years ago, and we know isn't funny now. The whole FMK, which technically we did not prepare one. So here off the cuff, what should we do, Genius? Should we go into medieval monster territory? Should we talk various birthday cakes? Because I'm thinking like an ice cream cake, which you would probably have to kill immediately.
I would have to kill him immediately. Or
Unless
we could do killer kid movies.
Killer kid flicks. Let's go.
Okay, let's do a Bloody Birthday.
Okay.
Cooties.
Okay.
And The Visitor.
The Visitor. There we go. This one, I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to kill Cooties, ultimately, just because that's technically in the zombie realm.
And they're already dead.
They're already dead. I'm not going to feel bad about that. It's a school setting, so it could be educational, how to take down a zombie kid. I am going to get downright freaky with The Visitor. If only, I want to get freaky with that theme in the background. Because it doesn't matter how bad I'm performing. It's going to be epic regardless. And then I'm going to marry Bloody Birthday because I smiled. I had fun. I'm all about eclipses. I like astrology. I think that's a marriage that's going to work. So for me, it's a pretty easy one. Genius McGee, FMK.
I'm definitely going to kill Cooties. I will 100%.
fair.
They're already dead. The kids are awful. Everybody's just eating people. That's no fun. No fun. And they're fast, and I'm not going to survive a fast zombie.
This is true.
So off the table. I am going to I'm gonna get freaky with Bloody Birthday. I'm gonna see a peep show. I'm gonna hop in the diddler van, and it's just done. I mean,
That's all right by me.
Yeah, I don't want to get stuck in a fridge. You know, I don't want to get killed by kids, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna marry the Visitor because one, I'm going to go up in outer space and be taken care of either by Satine or by Space Jesus.
Yes, that is good.
Either way, I'm going up in space and shenanigans and being taken care of. Plus, again, like, every time, you wouldn't have a wedding song. It would be like, da-na-na-na.
And you constantly famously say for the FMK, you're a what?
I'm a star fucker. And why not star fuck in the stars? I mean, so like, yeah, I'm going to hang out with John Huston. That means we're going to hang out with Orson Welles by proxy. There's yes, but it's
take a drink.
Rosebud. But yeah, I'm gonna marry the Visitor. Space shenanigans.
That works. That totally works. So your own FMK with Killer Kid Flicks. Make sure, and again, remember everything in the chat is not inadmissible for evidence, so you're okay on that end. So again, thank you guys for spending some time with us with these random recommendations. Now we'll be back here in a couple weeks with probably something maybe themed again. I would assume maybe the random recommendations are more of a free space potentially. We will find a theme for you out there on Shudder. Hopefully, again, if you don't have it, use the shut-in code for 30 days streaming. So until the next time, this is Greg D.
I'm Genius McGee.
We will see you in your dreams.
Watch out for them fridges.